All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. It is our pleasure to introduce to you one of Belgium's finest. Please make some noise for Tom Hades, please. This is a Q&A on-demand masterclass, so don't be afraid to fire some questions at Tom as we roll. So away you go, Maestro.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I wanted to do something different towards everybody's doing, so I want to do a question and answer thing. If you have technical questions, whatever questions you have, just shoot them and I will try to show what is possible, how I would address things, whatever it is. So I'm all ears, you can shoot whatever you want.
Hoi.
Hoi.
Like, how do you figure out your kick, which also has some sub, and then a separate sub? How do you balance those two?
There are some other possibilities to find the right balance between things. I'm a big fan of putting stuff in key, because the kick and the bass is one of the most important. So if you have those right in key, all the mixing afterwards will be much easier. I would start really trying to get everything in the same key and figuring out what is the best way. Fifth up is really nice between kicking and bass, for example. The fifth up it's something a lot of people know and don't really use, actually. They know it's a trick somehow, but they don't always use it. You can hear it. But it really makes your mixing afterwards much easier because it's already balanced somehow, if you want.
Because they're harmonic relationship.
Yes.
You
Yes.
mean the real fifth, not the 5/7.
Correct, the real fifth. If they're already harmonic good, then it's more the leveling maybe that is a difficulty. Sometimes they try to get in each other's way still because they still have overlapping frequencies. But there are some interesting tools for this. Probably you know them, maybe you don't. Track spacer. I like the dynamic EQing part. You can use this one because it's automatically based on sidechaining systems. I don't know, do people know this or not? Are there people, no idea what it is? Okay. I will try to explain with, I'm gonna make my life easy. I'm gonna put a bass loop here, or not here, there. Fantastic. So feedback sessions. Yeah. One of the systems that you can use is this track spacer. So I will put it on the bass line. I hope everybody knows sidechaining or ducking or whatever you call it. Most of the time it's used with a traditional compressor. There is nothing wrong with a compressor, but it's not frequency-wise ducking. It's only ducking on a signal. So if your kick is loud, it will literally duck much more, but from everything from your bass, not on a specific frequency, but they're clashing on frequencies. So instead of using this sidechain system that I think a lot of people know, you can use tools like track spacer. What it does is actually the same, but it will only focus where the frequencies are overlapping. So if I put on the sidechain on this, you can see when the kick is hitting, the white signal is actually my bass line, this one. So if I really exaggerate, you can literally hear the bass is going completely gone. And with those buttons here or knobs here, you can narrow where you wanna duck. So I really like this tool because it's based on dynamic EQ. There are, of course, many others. I don't know if track spacer is for free or not. No. But I'm sure there are free ones as well. I really like as well the isotope neutron ones. Why? Because you can put two different ones on each channel, kick and bass, and then you can do what they call masking, and then you have actually both. This is the kick, this is your bass, and then you can see where the clashing is going. So if you put this sensitivity, you can see here actually your frequency are overlapping. Also here where the honk of the kick is, you know, the more. But don't exaggerate with it. But what you can do then is actually link, for example, an EQ, and I can push something and drop at the same time the other one. And that's really handy to quickly mix, for example, bass and kick. Maybe one final trick is by using VU meters. I don't know if people know the principle of VU meters. This one is for free, the Duo is for free. The deluxe version is a little bit more fancy. It has some filtering. It's a good thing. It's a nice thing to have actually, and it doesn't cost that much. I think it's $20 or something. So, yeah, Klangheim. So the company is Helm or Heim. I don't remember. What you can do is actually you can find the perfect spot for the leveling. So when I start, for example, my kick, what I can do is I can try to let the needle hit -3. There is a reason, because it will calculate your headroom much better for your pre-master. So let's say I will drop the gain until it almost or approximately hits -3 like now. And then when I know this is the right one, I just drag and drop this, or move it actually, to my kick. Why? Because it's the one that I know the gaining is correct for -3 for your kick. Then when I add now a bass and I put also one on the master, that's the wrong one. I will take the free one and you can do the same. You can see it's going too far. So I can do the same now by trying either to balance it here, or what you should do better is balance until your bass and your kick is approximately hitting 0. And if you just look at the level meters here now, it's kind of correct, because you still hear the kick is a little louder than your bass, but your bass is sitting really nicely within your kick. It's not too low, it's not too high. And the reason why this works is based on a real old principle. People who started a long time ago, when using mixers, old school mixers, everything was based on a -18, what is it, LUFS actually. Why? Because old school compressors and whatever hardware you had, they were all tuned, all was built on this -18 thing. But it's the perfect headroom calculation. Again, this is a visual thing. Don't always put something on a visual representation. Trust your ears. But as you can hear now already, without really decent monitors, you can still hear that the balance is quite good.
So I was wondering, what do you think about sampling kicks out from other recordings and use them in your production?
But it depends on how you process it on your own. Let's say sampling is not a bad thing, because we're in a culture everybody samples. So let us stop those discussions. It's not done, or you cannot do this, whatever. People just sample. We used to sample 20 years ago. We still sample. There's no problem. But just think really clever on how you process stuff. If you sample something from a really high-end production, then most probably you don't need to add or change many things. If you sample from a really old record, yeah, then most probably process it more to get it more sounding to now. Yes?
Are you also layering kicks?
When I layer kicks, and it's not always, I'm gonna be honest, it depends. When I use a synth to create my own kick, I probably use the synth to make the layers. For example, with Operator, you can easily make a kick. It's not that difficult. You just need to know a little bit of how to make synths, how to make sounds. You can find shitload of tutorials about this, so I'm not gonna explain this, but if I would layer kicks, then most probably it's gonna be 3 ones, the 3 layer thing, to have the really low, then to have the honky thing, and then the really high sounding tick if you want. That's it. Should. Yes.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm blown away already. You obviously know your shit. But do you do the mastering during the mix itself, during the sequencing, or do you do mastering after the track is finished produced?
I always do in a 3-part stuff. I make ideas, I try to make a basic arrangement, then I go in a mixing session, and I prefer not to do it the same day. I do it 1 or 2 days after, because most of the time when you open up again your idea, it sucks. So you put a lot of effort in your mixing then, and then you see, shit, the idea is not okay. So I try to do it at least in 3 parts, and the same for mastering. I do my own mastering, but depending on which label I would sign, I would send it to a master engineer as well. Because I think it's better to have a 3rd person, 2nd, 3rd person in the mastering stage then. Have a listen to your own track. Because it's better that he or she has an idea what sounds wrong. Because if you listen too long to your own track, you don't hear it anymore.
How can you make snares pop in your mix?
I think snares is more about EQing actually. To have snares pop out, of course you can saturate them, you can bring those harmonics up, but I think snares is more about EQing, compression, because you want to have those hit of the snare, but it can go very quickly muddy, because it's in the zone where you start to have mud, like 200 Hertz, 300 Hertz, that can be too much. So if you push it too loud, I would say try to figure out something with, for example, that neutron thing, dynamic EQ. When it hits, then it slightly will dip those muddy frequencies. You will still have that hit. One other thing that you can do with snares is, but not only with snares, it's more the perceived loudness thing. Everybody knows glue compressor. Well, there is a way, I will try to find a fantastic snare loop or something. As you can see, just by looking at the meters, by the way, does everybody know how the meters within Ableton represent what? And you see two levels actually. You see a lighter green and a more heavier green, darker green. You have the RMS part and you have the actually peak part. The lighter is the peak part. It's important to understand this because we find something loud only by RMS, not by the peak. The peak is the initial transient which will think it sounds loud, but it's not loud. So if you want to make this louder, you can use something, for example, like a glue compressor, which I already have. Here. I'm gonna group this one and I'm gonna put a utility behind it because I'm gonna over-exaggerate. But just to give you an idea, if I would push this one completely up, the makeup gate, I just push it completely up. It will sound probably way louder, which is normal because I just boosted it a lot. But when I just use the gain to compensate, put it again to the same level, then at least I have an idea before and after with compression, because this is compression. Even without putting something with a threshold, if you put a glue compressor, it will already do some kind of compression. Small, but it will do it. To explain the way stuff can sound louder. So, this is louder. So I can put it down, but you can see that the green, the lighter green, is less than before. Now the lighter green is going up, more higher, because of the peak. When you can catch the peak and push it more towards that the RMS is going up, automatically it will be perceived as much louder, and actually it's not louder in volume. So this is a trick for a lot of percussion, not only snares. You can do this for claps, for anything you want to cut through the mix but not push it up in level or push it too much up in frequency.
I use Logic instead of Ableton.
You can do the same. The ones from Logic are very good. You have the glue as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a copy from the glue just for Ableton.
Yeah, the glue is, for me, I use the glue on my master, on my mix bus. I really like this one.
Would you use a limiter here as well?
What? From?
Instead of compressor, could you use a limiter?
Yeah, but limiting on percussion, I'm not a fan. On bass, yes, because it has much more volume to create. You know, there is not going up, too much up and down. Limiting and bass is perfect combination.
On drums, it kind of weakens the transient.
Mm.
You can use also a clipper.
It depends on what you're after, you know. If you really want to have those smashed kind of sound, of course you can use the limiting on everything, but try to find an interesting, for example, a good clipper is much better because it will not mess up your sound too much.
What would be a good clipper in Ableton?
From Ableton itself, I don't know.
Yeah, we can use the glue compressor in soft clip mode as well.
Yeah.
But I use saturation in the soft clip maybe?
Yeah, but that's what he said. With soft clip it's possible, but
So do you have a recommendation for good clipper?
yeah, I'm gonna search for it if I still have it. I don't have it installed anymore. There is a clipper, maybe the one from Tokyo Down. You know those ones?
Oh, yes.
Well, they have a limiter inside where you can literally just put the modules that you want. This one is for me the preferred master limiter system, because it literally has everything what you need to do decent mastering, and this is a limiter that is very, very transparent. You can really push it and it will not mess up your sound at all. Okay, this is a paid version. It's not cheap, but for me, if you want to invest in something, I would really suggest. And I don't know this guy, I don't have a logo. I think it's $129 or something. They have a lot of really nice things, to be honest. For example, if I put my fantastic synth here, they have something which are actually EQs and some other stuff. The GE is Gentleman Edition, those are the paid ones. So you have free ones as well. So if I put this one, for example, what is really nice, you have a precise and eco mode that's linear phase or not. For people who are known with linear phase, it's a better quality version than the eco one. Eco is better for your CPU. But yeah, okay. But what is nice about this is it can listen, maybe not this one, but this one. It can listen to your track. I'm gonna put on everything. You can literally listen to your track. Wait, I'm putting it on the wrong one. I have to put it on the master. Sorry. Relearn. So it will try to find the bad frequencies, etc. This is actually a master plugin because it's the M here is standing for a master, but it's the one, as you can see, you don't have a lot of options to EQ. It's not a surgical EQ thing, it's more like a broadband thing for mastering. So I just do this quickly, but I just listen to my own song and now I can match it to pink noise. Because as for everybody, we tend to listen to what the pink noise curve is. So there are tricks to learn to level to pink noise, etc. Well, this is actually doing the same, but also with frequencies, with everything. You can match it to a reference. If you like a track from somebody, from your own, from somebody else, you can load it in. You can create a reference track, an audio file from this, and then it will match this. You have an automatic high pass and low pass thing, which works really, really good. It's not cutting out at all too much, so it's very important to understand this. So if I would match it to pink, you already hear there was way too much bass. You have to find again with your ear things that are not okay. But if you see where it cuts, it's 169. It's not a lot, 1 dB. Why? Because that's already one of those muddy frequencies. So it already heard that that's the problem. Apparently all what was high, there's not a lot of high. Okay, this is a very basic thing, so if you would put more, it probably would not do 4.5 dB. And then in the very, very highs, it cuts as well. And then when I do the automatic high pass and low pass, if you can see, it didn't cut anything in low. Because for him, the sounds are already okay. They're not too much sub. And in high, it went really like not a lot, 20,000 hertz with an 18 decibel slope. It's not a lot. Very slow.
Because the bass line, it sounds like it's almost gone now.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
It sounded better before.
I understand. When you match it to pink, it's a general curve. When we do techno, that's what I meant. Don't always trust those things blindly, but try to understand what it found as a problem. For example, it went 2.5 dB on 386. Maybe for us, it's too much. But you can go back to your own track, to your individual tracks, and find the source or multiple sources and try to drop slowly there. Maybe 0.5 dB, 1 dB on the bass line, maybe on the snare something. And then in the end, you will most probably come closer to what he wanted to do. Try to use this as a tool, but not like as I put it on, learn, match pink, okay, mixing is done. No. There are way too many plugins like this who try to somehow seduce you to do mixing like this. Also, Isotope is known for this. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but try to understand what it tries to show you and learn from it.
But last time you were in New York, we were talking about this trick about the kick. Maybe it's a secret trick. What about like some kind of mid side? Yeah, like the top part of the kick. How to get them to really come through. You remember?
Yeah, it's mid-side chaining actually.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. So actually, people tend to put, for example, reverb on stuff, not on the bass, on whatever. I'm gonna put this off. I'm just gonna put some extra stuff with some hi-hat loops or whatever to have a more idea. Okay, let's say I'm over-exaggerating now. Problem is now you hear that the reverb is much too high towards your whole mixing. So there are systems to try to duck your side signal towards your mid signal. Let's say instead of using sense, I will put on this snare, I will put on a reverb, and I didn't really look at it, and I put way too much decay time or whatever. So what you can do is you can use, for example, FOB filter. There are other ones as well. You can do this with chains as well. In Ableton you can create the same system. But I'm gonna show you now the FOB filter one. So in FOB filter you have a system which is called sidechaining. What I'm after is actually I wanna have the reverb duck every time that my snare hits. because it will bring it in front, but you can still fill all the rest of the space with your reverb. So what you can do here is say mid signal will duck side signal. And you can hear automatically that it's now actually ducking. Look. Now it's only the mid who comes through and all the rest is filled, the whole space around is filled with reverb. This will be very important in the end mixing and in your mastering, that you don't have over-exaggerated side signals, because for phasing problems, for whatever problems that can occur. This is a trick that works for anything. So you can really put a lot of effects, delays, reverbs, chorus, whatever, and you can still use this system even on your master with this side chaining effect, because it will literally cut down every time when your mid is hitting on everything. Of course, I exaggerated now with the decay. It's way too much. Already decays above 1.5 to 2 seconds is already from here to Mars. But that's a trick. It's important that you try to incorporate techniques in your habit of making music like this to have much quicker and good mix. Because sometimes you're stuck to too much reverb, too less reverb, oh now it's not filled enough. You know what, I put another delay on top. Actually, you're only making it worse. If you do stuff like this, it will make your life much easier.
You just said about using limiter on your bass, that those are kind of like best friends together. But I personally never tried it, and so I have no idea how to...
It's actually what you want to do is, if you take your bass, what I don't want to have is going too much up and down. I want to have a really block with my bass and then start to sidechain. Yes. And that's what I mean with bass, because bass needs body, it needs volume. If you have too much up and down, that's not a problem, but it can mess up your mix, to be honest. If you want to depend on your side chaining technique, whatever you use, with track spacer, with compressors, whatever, it makes it much easier if you put a limiter in front, because it will start to make that block that cuts through. And then you can use other side chain techniques to make melodies out of this, but it's still the same block that is cut up.
Are you using it on like all your bass channels?
Not all, I don't see it again on separate ones. No, on separate ones, because it depends. Sometimes you want to have a step bass inside as well, so you want to have accentuated stuff. Yeah, it depends on what you're after. Again, it's not a rule, but if I would connect a limiter to something, I would say go for bassy stuff.
Could you give some tips and tricks maybe how to create more like a three-dimensional mix?
Try to split up your signal in multibands and try to treat every band with specific stereo enhancers, whatever it is, delays, reverbs, it can be effects, can be stereo processors, it can be the Haas effect if you know this, it can be anything, but try to treat it in bands. And for example, Melda Productions is known for a multi-band system. They have everything in multi-band as well. They have it in single band, but also in multi-band. A multi-band, literally, you can make your own bands how you want by dragging and dropping those sliders, moving those sliders. But then you can literally process whatever you want. For example, for the low mid, it's okay to put some widening effects on it, because it's still okay for phasing problems to put stuff on it. But this way you can create different kind of effects on different kind of bands, which are actually most of the time a group of instruments. They fit together. This together with panning, with leveling, of course, that's the thing that will create your dimensions. And maybe one more that is interesting is tonal balance. here. You put a mix stop, which is actually nothing more than a channel reader on every channel. Shut up. And then they have what you call a visual mixer. And now I can see I have my bass, I want to put it there, I want to have my snare, I want to put it there. It's a visual way of doing stuff. Again, I don't want to push you guys to visual stuff, huh? Don't get me wrong, but it's because I just changed the position. I just panned it on the mix stop thing, and I also put it higher in level, so I changed this as well. So for example, if I go back to my snare now and I have a look at the it's here. What it did is it went 2 decibel higher because I put it literally, look, you can see it moving, and I start panning as well. So you can visually start to drop stuff. I want to put this here and this in front and this higher and less, and so it can be an aid. Okay.
Thank you, man.
That's it.